Today's guest went from PE teacher to multi-millionaire fitness expert, has built one of the best training apps on the market, and regularly eats 10,000 calories per day like it's nothing. It is, of course, MattDoesFitness.
Your physique is determined by your genetics. Of course, you have to train hard, but ultimately, I know people that train their nuts off for years and they still don't look very good. Going and spending an hour on a Stairmaster, I would literally rather set fire to my face than do that. It's so boring.
Steroids.
Yeah.
Do you use them? What do you think of them?
I've always had like steroid accusations. That's a massive misconception.
Yeah, fraud.
You're a scumbag.
I've seen you've also got an energy drink. Why is it better than Prime?
Are you kidding me?
How has this got through a whole chain of people? It tastes like urine. Do you know what I mean? It blows my mind.
So you're quite transparent with your income on social media. Where's the video for last year on your income?
Right, this is an
I'm
exclusive.
going to show you right now.
The Strike It Big watchers only.
So I've got something to start us off with today.
Why does he always look so worried when you say you're going to start it off?
Well, he doesn't know what I'm going to say, does he? But the other day we had Justin Waller on the podcast, didn't we? And we asked an interesting question. What comes first, money, fitness, or women? And we actually talked about it afterwards, didn't we? And I actually agree with what you said, that money comes first, and then the fitness, then the women. But Justin said the fitness came first.
Yeah, I mean, I think fitness takes so much time and money, and to put all of your energy, time, and money into that when you don't have money doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I just think you can get to a certain level of fitness, but then to actually get shredded, you need money to be able to do that. Otherwise, you don't have the time.
100%, it's expensive as hell.
What's your thoughts on that, Dad?
It's never cost me anything to have a body of a god. So what can I say?
You're going to do the same joke again. Oh, it's Buddha.
No, didn't mention it, did I? But
I thought that's where
you know, I never really bothered going to a gym. It was not on my time schedule to do so. You know, I was happy not to really. But I know some people want to, and I know Kai and you do. I know Kai has particular trouble getting enough calories down, which I find absolutely amazing, because one of the things I can do is certainly put away a fair bit of food, but you seem to have trouble to do what, 3,000 calories?
Yeah, I mean, if I do it like dirty, like a Domino's and a Mackey's, then yeah, I have no problem. But if I'm trying to do it clean, like chicken and rice and that, no, I literally can't do it.
You end up pushing more of the food around the plate, don't you, than actually eating it sometimes.
People probably just find this unreal. It's like, what, skinny boy talking about gym in the intro? It's like, what's going on here?
No, to be fair though, I think it's really interesting that we've got different perspectives on fitness. Obviously, Dad's like 70-year-old generation.
Oh, leave it out. I'm a fresh and fit 55.
Fresh and fit.
Fresh and
right,
fit.
Right.
55.
And then obviously you've got you that struggled to put on weight, and me that's struggling to lose weight. But I'm all right. I'm doing all right.
Aren't you a natural athlete?
Yeah, well, exactly. Natural athlete, unnatural athlete, and Buddha. Today's guest went from PE teacher to multi-millionaire fitness expert, has built one of the best training apps on the market, and regularly eats 10,000 calories per day like it's nothing. It is, of course, MattDoesFitness.
Woohoo!
Welcome to the podcast, bro.
Woo-woo. Thanks for having me, guys.
What a long journey you had today, eh?
Very long, yeah. Couple of flights. Couple of flights of train. We finally made it.
Well, we appreciate that.
Let's start off with a hard question. What makes you the man to listen to when it comes to becoming the best version of yourself?
I mean, I would dispute whether I am the best person to listen to in that regard. I'd say I'm up there. Do you know what I mean? But I'd say I don't know whether I have become the best version of myself. In fact, I'd say I haven't yet. I'm yet to become the best version of myself, but I'm definitely made some solid inroads into that process, you know?
So would you feel like, we were discussing this in the intro actually, what comes first, fitness, money, or women?
I would say like in most walks of life, I think fitness and that general kind of ethos underpins loads of things. I think there are so many spin-offs and benefits to even just the act of pursuing like fitness, being fitter, bettering yourself in a physical sense. There are so many benefits. It's so far-reaching. I think it has positive implications on millions of different things. I would always advocate, even someone that has no interest in ever playing sport or ever getting massive or whatever. I just think the act of trying to improve some physical traits in the sense of fitness, I think there's so many benefits to doing that. I'd recommend everyone does that. I think.
I guess it depends the level that you want to take it to, because I'd imagine to get to where you're at is time consuming and costly. And if you can't make money while doing that, then money to some aspect does need to come first. Otherwise, you are just a gym lad with no income.
Yeah, of course. But with that said, like you said, there's lots of variables. It depends what you're doing. It depends what your outcomes are, right? But on a basic level, i.e., let's say, doing some exercise 3 times a week for 30 minutes. I don't believe that there's anyone that can't, but short of someone that's literally, tied to a chair 24 hours a day. There's no one that can't physically do that. It's, anyone could do that, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that alone would have some pretty serious positive implications on the rest of your life. So I would say anyone, people that say, I'm too busy, I haven't got time. What they mean is that I don't really want to do it.
Yeah, they don't prioritize it.
Yeah.
So when you say 30 minutes, do you mean literally just going for a walk, going for a bit of a jog? What are you saying?
It depends on the individual. If you're 95 years old, probably don't
Hey,
go and
on.
do some...
What are you trying to say here?
No, but do you know what I mean?
We've
already had this.
70, but not 95.
That wasn't directed at you, but if you're 95 years old, I wouldn't say go and do some heavy squats and deadlifts, right? It's all geared towards the individual. But for most people, the problem is some people take, it depends on the individual. If someone is inherently lazy, then if you say, "I'll go and do 30 minutes of a walk," then it ends up being almost nothing, right? So, but with that said, it's still, even that, if you are a very sedentary individual, going for a walk 3 times a week is still going to have some positive implications. So even that is better than nothing. That's the thing people don't understand, is that someone decides to, I want to get healthier, I want to get fitter, and they go from doing nothing to like, right, I'm going to train 6 days a week and obviously that isn't sustainable, and you're not going to, you're going to fall off and you're going to revert back to what you're doing. Just doing 5 minutes of exercise in your front room once a week is still an improvement. All you're trying to do is put something in place, that initial step, which you can slowly build on. So I would always advise you do that. 5-10 minutes once a week is still better than nothing. And then you can then, ramp it up to 15-20 minutes, then add in a second session and go from there, rather than just going from nothing to, an unsustainable amount.
So for the average guy, would you say like cardio is more important or weight training? Because I find it really hard to get the motivation to go for a run, but doing weight training is a lot easier.
In short, weight training, yes. Like there are for most people, when they decide to start doing exercise, right, generally it's like for, superficial aesthetic, like vain reasons that, they want to look better. Occasionally it's for like health, they're having heart issues, they want to get health, so that's fine. But most of the time it's because they want to look better, they want to lose some fat, build some muscle, whatever it is.
Get a bigger chest.
Get a massive chest. There you go, yeah. So
like Dad.
99 times out of 100, I would say weight training is, if you ideally you haven't got to choose, but if it's a choice of one or the other, weight training 100%. Because cardio, unless you're a sports person and you need to improve your cardiovascular endurance, aside from that, the only benefit having cardio does, from a body composition standpoint, is it helps you lose fat, helps you create, burn calories, create a calorie deficit. You can create that yourself by eating less food. So you can almost negate the need to do that from a body composition standpoint. However, weight training does something that no other form of training will do, which is it helps you build muscle. And in the act of building muscle, A, you look significantly better. B, you have the illusion of having less fat because you have more muscle mass, which kind of takes up some of that space that the fat's taken up. And by building more muscle, you increase your metabolism. So you basically, if you have 2 people, one of them has, 50 kilograms of muscle, one of them has 30 kilograms. The guy with 50 is going to burn more calories 24 hours a day. They burn more calories while they're sleeping because their body has to sustain that amount of muscle mass. So you actually burn more calories from having more muscle mass. There are so many benefits in terms of like, joint health, like for women, like reducing the risk of like osteoarthritis, like so many benefits in the long term that I would always advocate that. Because what you find is people, that want to lose weight just do cardio, endless cardio, and they're just like, it's like a hamster in one of those wheels, just it's a never-ending cycle of, I need to do this cardio so I can eat a bit more food, and then it's just like
boring as well, isn't it? Yeah,
boring as fuck, mate. Yeah, as if, who wants to going and spending an hour, like I see people do it all the time, an hour on a Stairmaster. I would literally rather set fire to my face than do that. It's so boring. Ironically, if you do weight, you can do weight training in a more kind of, HIIT training type fashion, which makes it cardio in itself. Do you know what I mean? But I would much rather get my cardio from playing 5-a-side football or running around with my sons, like something that's fun, because at least then, do you know what I mean? If you go and, for example, that is a good example, 5-a-side football, you could burn the number of calories you'd burn in an hour of 5-a-side football was significantly more
and
than
not even know it as well.
Yeah,
It's quite
it's
intense,
fun.
5-a-side.
Yeah,
because I always say I'd rather go for a bike ride than get on a gym bike.
Or play badminton. You do that.
Yeah, I
quite
do
a
that
lot,
as
yeah.
well.
That's
But
another great one,
you
yeah.
go down there and you're on a bike in a gym. You're not going anywhere. You're not
just
experiencing
like,
anything.
yeah.
It's just like, oh my god.
Can you imagine? Like, I just think of like, you know, like aliens looking down and being like, what are they doing?
Yeah,
like,
just
literally,
burning
you're
energy.
not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the out? Like, do you know what I
I
mean?
love how they've like put the screens on them now, so it feels
Yeah,
like you're
yeah.
going
Yeah,
somewhere.
the Peloton.
But you can't beat dropping down onto that coastline and riding all the way up the coast
Yeah.
and back. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
gorgeous.
it
It makes
is.
you pleased to be
Yeah.
alive and you're burning
And
calories.
there are psychological benefits, you know, actual chemical changes in your brain as a result of being outside and getting sun and all that stuff. That it does make a difference. So I'm not saying, you know, of course, cardio has a place for sure, and there are people that, you know, definitely should do it, but ideally get it from a source that is enjoyable, or at least you don't hate it. Because if you hate exercise and you dread doing it, you are not going to sustain that. It's obviously not sustainable, you know. So find things that at least you don't mind doing, because you're then going to be able to stick to those, and then you're going to get some kind of desirable outcome.
You mentioned the physical benefits there, but do you feel like being big has helped you in business? Because obviously this is a business podcast, so
So in a business sense, and specifically with like social media, for example, I think there's obviously different genres on YouTube, right? So like you have like fitness, you have like gaming, you have, I don't know, fishing, whatever. There are some elements, some areas. So fishing, for example, if you're I don't know much about that, but if you're an elite fisherman and you've got a big fishing channel, I would imagine there aren't a huge number of ways you can monetize that, right? If you are a big fitness YouTuber, there are so many ways you can there are so many potential business, you know, lucrative opportunities as a result of that. So it's one of the biggest, I would say, the most lucrative areas to excel in, because there are so many. I guess ultimately, you know, lots of things that it's quite superficial, and therefore if you look good, that lends itself to that, right? So I think from a business
it
standpoint,
also links to relationships as well. Like guys want to attract girls, so obviously they're going to pay for that.
yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
there's more to these genres, as you say, than maybe you think, though, because you mentioned fishing. I think when you're into fishing, you would know that there's a lot more to it and a lot more sellable, a lot more scalable
Yeah,
things as well. Because I look at fitness and I think, well, what is there? You know, bought some weights, I'm there, and I, you know, so I suppose.
But I think it's the size of the market.
Yeah,
Though.
it's
Is
when
there
you're
as
really
many
into
people
something.
into fishing as there are to fitness?
Lots more, I'd say.
Really?
No, I'm saying, right, if you
Yeah.
take
That can't be right.
I'm saying if you take the top 10,000 fitness influencers, and the top, they're making probably 1,000 times the revenue more than the fishermen are. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there's a couple of fishermen that have. I mean,
Yeah,
again,
it'd be interesting to actually compare. But fishing is actually, I think, I might be wrong, but it's probably the number one participation sport in the UK.
Really?
There you go.
Really?
Yeah,
I
really.
swear
Yeah.
that must be football.
That
No,
can't be
not
right.
participation isn't football.
There's no way.
Well,
Let's get a fact
we'll
check.
look
Let's
that up.
get a fact-
Yeah, we need someone to pull up the details.
No
We'll
way,
fact
that's
check that.
outrageous.
But it's similar to my business. I'm into radar control models, selling those, which I've mentioned many, many times. But the thing that a lot of people say to me, oh, not many people into that, is there? Well, of course there isn't, because you're not into it, so you don't see it. And golf, I mean, you only need a stick and a ball, don't you? So again, there's so much more once you start digging into it. But certainly fitness is it's a big shot.
How do you feel about like the whole market getting saturated with fitness influencers?
I think it goes both ways, because that's an excuse people use. I have people that say to me, "Oh, you know how it was easier 10 years ago.
You could never do it now.
Yeah. So on the one hand, yes, of course, there are, a million times more. If there's so many more fitness influencers and people that want to be fitness influencers, which arguably makes it harder to be one of the bigger ones. However, the flip side, which is far more significant, I think, is that as a result of that, there are so many more opportunities. So whereas when I started 10 years ago, there were probably almost none, if any, people that were, sponsored athletes that were sponsored by whatever, MyProtein, and made a salary from that. It was very, very rare. Now, you get, there are thousands. I think it's so common now. You get people, making money off those platforms because of all the things that have been brought about by this massive, increase in people doing it. So, yes, it's harder to be one of the bigger ones, but now, the ability to make a salary off YouTube fitness now is significantly easier than it was 10 years ago, for sure.
Was it difficult doing your social media when you were a PE teacher?
Yeah. So I mean,
So
yes.
were you actually uploading videos while you were teaching?
Yeah. I'd a teacher. I would go into, we'd have like safeguarding meetings, where someone comes in external and they're like, oh, this is all the things you shouldn't be doing as a teacher. And it's like, number one, have zero social media. Number two, don't use your name on social media. And I'm like literally sat there like vlogging. Do you know what I mean? Like that's, so yeah, I mean, yes, it was very hard. Also, because of fitness, obviously fitness, a lot of it is like, physique, you want to be topless. And I didn't, I had to, the first 3 or 4 years of YouTube, you can go look, I would never be topless in a video or on Instagram, right? Which is mad if you think about it. But I was just thought, what if, I felt like it felt a bit more risky. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think that stopped your growth in the early days?
Yeah, I mean, probably yes, because most big fitness influencers have an amazing physique, and obviously you can't exploit that if you don't show your physique. However, my content wasn't great initially. I probably had bigger issues than that. Do you know what I mean? But
Right.
I was very fortunate because my school and the head of my school in particular was like, he was awesome. He was like very supportive, and he knew what I was doing, and he was happy for me to do it. I'm sure there will be, probably most schools you would work at that wouldn't be the case. And it's mad because I was trained to be a teacher. I then became a teacher. Had the school said, look, we need you to stop doing this, for the first couple of years, I would have stopped because I didn't think it was going to be a career realistically. And, I had a mortgage, I had a child, a house, a wife, etc. So I had to, bring money in. So had they not been so understanding, I would have probably sacked it off. So yeah, but it definitely was a limitation. But I just thought, it only takes one parent to see it and be weird about it. Then, do you know what I mean? So,
did you ever get any hate like from parents or even pupils?
No. I mean, it was exclusively positive. They'd be funny, I guess but especially when I started, I had I remember having 74 subscribers or whatever. So obviously kids will take the piss. That is kids are brutal, right? Teenagers are brutal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you do. I remember when I was at school, I played football for my county, which was a good achievement, but people would take the piss out of anything because it's different. Do you know what I mean? So
I think it's not just kids though. I feel like people these days will take the piss out of anything until it's successful. If I start a YouTube channel now, I'm a joke. But as soon as I've got 500,000 subscribers, he's killing it.
Yeah, I mean, in school, I had a YouTube channel. They used to put it on the projector, and make fun of it. It's my life. It's so embarrassing.
But if you had 250,000 subs, it would
everyone want to be your friends,
dynamic,
won't they?
It's crazy. It's not just kids.
But I think even then, though, people are funny. People don't understand. Even now, people will say, do you make an income off that?
That's the funniest question
people
ever.
Don't understand how you can monetize it. They don't, it will blow their mind.
I have to say to friends of mine, so we're making television programs, so we're just putting them on the computer rather than on the television.
Exactly that,
and then they suddenly think,
yeah,
it's interesting because people say YouTube have peaked. How can anybody hit this many subscribers, or how can somebody in the fitness industry hit 50 million subscribers? But then, how many people don't know that you can make money from it? How many people don't watch it?
Yeah.
So it shows there's so much growth in the industry to be had as a whole.
Yeah. And if you look at viewership, if you compare it to even a solid BBC program. I forget exactly, but I've had close to 1 billion views. That would be do you know what I mean? It's wild if you compare it to series, and if you said to someone, I've been on EastEnders, they'd be like, that's awesome. Do you know what I mean?
know.
But actually, in terms of viewership, it's not dissimilar, if not it's more.
And all you've done is been on it. You haven't created anything.
Yeah.
You haven't made it. You haven't produced it, directed it, paid for the set. You've done nothing. You've just been on it, and then you'll get all the plaudits.
Yeah.
Weird,
Imagine
isn't it?
if you went to an actor and said, look, we'll let you design your own program exactly. You do exactly what you want. You be whatever character you want. You do it when you want. Do you know what I mean? What an opportunity that would be, and that is exactly what YouTube is essentially, right?
I think so.
As an ex-teacher, what's your opinion on the education system now?
Mate, I think the biggest issue is that the people that are making decisions on education haven't been teachers. So basically it's an absolute joke. I know numerous amazing teachers that have just been forced from the profession because it's just ridiculous. It's just completely unrealistic. You have as a sport teacher, it's a stereotype, but I was fortunate. It wasn't as much, marking. Obviously, I did teach. I taught BTEC and I taught theory-based stuff, but a lot of it is practical. So ultimately, on a basic level, I'm not having to mark as many books, right? But I had mates who were teaching geography or whatever, right? They'd get into school at 6:30 in the morning. They'd, mark books, plan lessons for 2 hours. They'd teach until 5. They'd mark books for 2 hours. They'd go home, they'd mark books until 10 o'clock, go to bed, wake up and do it again. They'd do it all throughout the holidays. And then you'd get Ofsted come in, right? And off the back of that, the government would say, right, now we need you to, when you're marking your books, rather than just doing this, we need you to then give additional feedback and also tell the person why they didn't do this and how they can do this and give them 3 little points. And they're doing this for 120 books every evening. You're not a robot. There's only limited number of hours in the day. You can't just, increase your output in a linear fashion because they've already run out of time. Then they're being asked to, because as is the nature of schools and any real public sector, people get the piss taken out of them. So, do you want to be in charge of like development of the year 7 and 8 curriculum, which AKA, do you want to do loads more work for like £3 a month? Do you know what I mean? And people do it because they feel bad, or they feel like if they do it, they're going to get rewarded in another way. And so you just got people working stupid hours for whatever, 30 grand a year with, the other thing as well is that I would see teachers who were shit teachers and they get paid. There's no difference. Do you know what I mean? You get a teacher that is an amazing teacher having a hugely significant impact on children's lives and works ridiculous hours. Someone else that finishes, done, go home, no interest, and they get paid the same, or the other person gets more like, it's just
that would do me in as a person, because I always think that you should be rewarded for your output. Simple as that. And if you're a good teacher, you should definitely be awarded a good reward.
Do you think that education and success are linked?
Not necessarily, but I do think there are links in the sense that, so you can be, you can perform really badly in an academic setting. So you could get, no GCSEs and still be, there are obviously numerous examples of people that are billionaires, right? However, what I would say is the underlying skill, so the ability to do something, to just commit to a task, finish a task, like do something that you find hard, those things will, if you were to take a poll of like 1 million people, find the ones that are, even though they've got D's at GCSE or whatever, but they still applied themselves and they tried to do something and they committed to a certain thing, they're the ones that are probably going to go on and do well. So not top line, but the underlying requirements, I'd say. Most people, if you give up at things really easily and you don't stick to a task, you're probably going to, you're not going to succeed, or it's less likely.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Do you feel like sport is being pushed aside by the education system, and that's why maybe people are gravitating towards YouTube and your videos in particular?
This is close to his heart because he actually comes from a sporting background.
You like to mention that all the time.
He used to swim.
Yeah, I used to swim back in the day.
He's
to
very
pretty good
swimmer.
standard.
Yeah, very
but
good.
I just feel like nowadays guys aren't going into the gym as much. They're not getting as fit, and they're just having office jobs and going down that route.
Yeah, maybe the kind of, because what you typically get at school, you get obviously kids that have zero interest in exercise. So the first chance they get, they're going to just leave sport behind them, right? You get kids that are great at sport / love sport. They're going to be given opportunities. It depends on the school as well. Some schools will be amazing. They give them incredible opportunities. Some schools, not so much. A lot of that comes down to the staff. If you have staff that are that way, if you love swimming, you happen to get a PE teacher who loves swimming, you're golden. They're going to sort you out. Whereas
but then you get some of the PE teachers that they go, swimming's not a real sport, you've
got to play
hockey or something. No, luckily I had some good ones.
Yeah, that's it. It depends on the school.
Yeah.
Why hockey?
Yeah, no, it's football, hockey,
that's the classic.
and
Football, hockey, cricket, rugby. They're the ones.
Yeah. So you're quite transparent with your income on social media.
Yeah.
Where's the video for last year on your income?
To be honest, I haven't done it, but like,
okay. Can we do a bit of it now? How did it go?
I'll tell you right now.
Right, this is an
I'm
exclusive.
going to show you right now.
For Strike It Big watchers only.
I was going to say, there's a bit you can answer before you find your figures. What percentage of your income comes from sponsors?
Percentage wise, I would say 10, 20%.
Oh, fairly
That's fantastic, though. That's very good, though.
So back, but I'd say like 2 years ago, it was more like 80%.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
that's so good. That's so good that you've made the switch.
Yeah, that's what will happen. And I'd say probably in, I don't know, 2 years' time, it would be nothing. Do you know what I mean?
So are you still sponsored by Gymshark?
So Gymshark and My Protein, I've had numerous. To be honest, I don't. I'm not the kind of person that has 20 endorsements. Right, I'm much more a quality over quantity. So I've been with for My Protein for like 7 years, I think. Gymshark, similar, 5 years, I think. I've basically sacked everyone else off. They're the two companies that I work with. Just because I've worked with them for a long time. They're both awesome companies. There's nothing worse than a company that's like on your back all the time, do this, do that. If that's what someone's like, I'm not interested. Do you know what I mean? So they're both really cool. They're both very understanding with, obviously I have other commitments. I have stuff to do. And they both pay me a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? So that also helps.
So I heard someone even sponsors you for your jeans.
They did up until recently. That's one of the ones that I no longer work with. But yeah, I mean,
what brand was it? Because Kai loves Amiri jeans, and obviously they cost £1,000 a pair.
I mean, if Amiri want to sponsor,
if they can hook him up, that'd be good.
I'll talk about it
Legend
all day.
London, mate. They're like. Imagine you took your trousers off and you got some spray paint and you sprayed your legs blue. That's spray. They're pretty tight. Yeah. But they're good if you train legs right. What the problem I always have with jeans or trousers is that my legs are big relative to my waist. So you end up having to get trousers for like really overweight people, and I have to bring the waist in. Do you know what I mean? Whereas these jeans, they're tight, they're designed.
Well, they just stretch out.
They are literally, they're basically jeggings. Do you know what I mean? That's essentially what they are.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep rocking.
They basically
the
are,
Amiris,
mate. I think £1,000 for a pair of jeans. That is outrageous.
Well, do you want to know
How can
something
you justify
interesting?
The number of
right?
times we've discussed that, and
but
everyone's got the same opinion.
Let's discuss this, all right? So two things. For one, they've actually been ROI positive.
I said
for my
this to you this
brand,
morning, yeah.
because
Everyone remembers you.
The amount of people that talk about it for some strange reason, like it's a big deal, is unbelievable, which I don't think it is, but fair enough. But something that's also funny is that Mark, the most frugal, I would say tight ass, in my opinion.
You can just see on his face when
they
£1,000
have
pair of
bought
jeans.
downstairs £1,000 for a cushion.
Well, let's get truthful
Well,
about it.
I haven't even heard about this.
Let's get
That's
truthful
worse.
Found
about
out this
it.
morning.
Worse than
It's
jeans, to be honest.
£750,
All right, then.
and
For a cushion.
well, it's actually 3 cushions, but it wasn't my decision. So there you go.
I'm curious. Why are they so expensive? What
They're
makes them-
bespoke,
It's
and
unbelievable.
basically we've got a bench seat in a window, and they had to be bespoke made for it. And then we got another seat in the house that they had to be bespoke for. They're not just like scatter
And they've
cushions.
taken
Yeah,
months
that's-
to do
The
this.
scatter
That's more
cushions that Kai
understandable.
would spend the afternoon going down Dunelm Mill looking for, because he
Yeah.
likes a scatter cushion
No, I
or
wouldn't.
two. But
That's more understandable,
Yeah.
but it does still seem excessive. I'll be honest. But
I'd say so.
Yeah, but then £1,000 jeans.
But they only took
have
4
been
months.
ROI positive.
But they only took 4 months to come. So
Great, yeah, that's an impressive turnaround.
It's a bargain. So have you got a
Impressive
number
turnaround.
for us?
I've just looked, yeah. So on Studio on my phone, I can't see 20. All I can see is the last year. So the last year is just over $200K.
All from YouTube ad revenue.
Just YouTube ad revenue, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I don't
That's
remember
some
the year
views.
before, but that's definitely gone down by a solid amount.
I think it was $250,000 bang on the year before.
Oh, okay. So it's not okay. That's not too bad.
$250,000 bang on.
and how is the rest of your income made up?
So my
Or the
biggest,
majority, I should say.
my biggest revenue stream is my app.
Yeah.
So the Mortar app, that's my biggest revenue stream, and that's kind of like my. I guess I've got a few things, but that in particular is something that I see as being like, the income stream forever, right? Like the goal is to have that. It's not far off now, but get it to a point where it runs itself, and it's, do you know what I mean? That's the plan with that.
Why have you decided to go down that route rather than just be a YouTuber?
To monetize what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, being a YouTuber, like like you've seen, revenue can be amazing. I've had months where I've made 6 figures. However, it's extremely volatile, and it's extremely unpredictable. So obviously, in an ideal world, you want your revenue source to be predictable. Like most jobs, you say, I'm getting paid X amount a month, and you can, factor in, you can plan your life, right? YouTube, I could have 2 months. I've had it. 2 months where I get identical views, and one of them is double the revenue of the other. Do you know what I mean? Because time of year, length of videos, whatever, so many factors. So it's very, very risky to if your sole income is YouTube ad revenue or any ad revenue, it's a terrible idea. It's extremely risky, extremely volatile. Definitely don't recommend that. You want to find as many ways as you can to monetize that and to capitalize on your audience. Offer a good service, give them something they want, but you'd be silly not to do that. So that was the main reason. And I mean, 2 things. Firstly, I wanted to monetize my audience. I mean, I'd been doing like online coaching for a couple of years, right? Which is the classic fitness thing. You have I had 25 clients or whatever, and they would pay me, and I'd write them training programs in Excel and stuff, and we'd send emails back and forth. And that's great, and you can give them a really good service, but I couldn't have any more than 25 clients because I didn't have the time to respond to emails, right? With that, the Morsia app, the beauty of it is, it's misleading. It's not easy. It took a long time to build it, and we've done stupid amount of testing, and it goes on forever. It's never
Was it
ending.
expensive as well?
Yeah, very expensive. Yeah. I've put hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds into building it. Yeah, but I think what differs between our app and pretty much most fitness apps out there is, firstly, ours isn't shit, right? A lot of fitness apps.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of factors. A lot of fitness apps, right, are run by people that don't I don't know. Not everyone. A lot of people are amazing, but there are some people that are a bit disingenuous, that don't really care what their app, if it works. They get someone in there, that's it, they're done, move on to the next person. We wanted to make an app that is actually extremely functional. That the other big factor is that you might get apps that work, good, have a good UI, but the actual content is trash. Like a lot of people that are making apps and selling fitness resources have no idea what they're doing. So the actual training plans on there are shit, right? Whereas the Morsia app, the plans on there are amazing. Like I've made all of those plans. So though the training plans you'll get there is you won't get, they're better than the training plans you get in any other fitness app. You get fitness apps that look amazing, have great, I said great interface. They're nice to use, but the actual content, the things that you're doing, which is the main thing, right? What training am I doing? The stuff you're doing is you shouldn't be doing it. It's not right. It's not optimized for that individual. It's one blanket plan for everyone, which obviously doesn't work, right? Or it's just outright the wrong thing. And also, a lot of apps are very kind of, I say more, especially in the fitness scene, more kind of female focused. So it's more like HIIT workouts, Pilates, that kind of stuff, which obviously not all of them, but a lot of guys don't want. A lot of guys ultimately want to go to the gym and build muscle, right? So the Morsia app is literally designed to help you build muscle. So you're literally our perfect target audience, right? You use the app, you will build muscle. You will know exactly what you need to be doing. And a key thing as well is that we try and educate, like rather than just being like, here's your plan, like, and you are there, you need to be looking at this all the time and you can't really survive without it. We try and educate you on why you're doing stuff. Why are you doing this exercise first? Why does this exercise have a longer recovery? Why are you lifting more weight here? Why are you doing this on a Thursday and this on a Tuesday? So you understand, so that you're not so reliant on the app and you literally can't survive without it. Do you know what I mean? Because that isn't a sustainable way of life. But yeah, that was basically the goal. I wanted to put something out there because I'd seen and used lots of apps in the past that were just absolute dog shit. And why can't you make an app that actually, it looks great and works real, but also the content is good? Because ultimately that's the difference. When you get a coach and you're with them one-to-one, they normally give you good stuff. But again, it's not scalable. With an app, you tend to get the opposite. You can get endless clients, but the content is trash. I wanted to combine both. So get that intimate, personalized experience with your diet plan and your meal and your training plan, but also the content is good. The stuff you're doing is what you should be doing and it suits you and it's going to help you get your end goal.
I've seen you've also got an energy drink.
Yes,
why is it better than Prime?
So straight away, Prime is like more of like a Lucozade. Prime is like a hydration drink. Morsia Energy is an energy drink. It's a performance drink. So you drink Morsia Energy and it makes you perform better. You go to the gym, you lift more weight. You go for a run, you run faster. That's the goal of Morsia Energy, is to improve your performance. But it's still, you're right, it is still better than Prime, just generally speaking.
I think it's nicer. Weird. Prime just says, it has this less calories than this drink, but you need calories, right, for energy.
But also, they're very sneaky about that, because I could say, Morsia Energy has 0 calories, right?
Really?
So it has less calories than, I could say, it has less calories than a Red Bull. It has less calories than a full sugar Red Bull. If you get a 0 calorie Red Bull, it's the same. So Prime.
So what, does the energy come from caffeine?
Yeah. It's energy in the sense that, it's like, cognitive energy, which then transfers into physical energy. But with Prime, like Logan Paul's very clever, but he'll compare it to a Lucozade that's the calorie version. Obviously, it has calories in. There is also a 0 calorie version, which is what you should be comparing it to. So it's not a fair comparison. Do you know what I mean?
So how are you going about marketing yours in a different way?
So we do market in a different way, but it is because it is different. It's pretty easy because, so 2 things. Firstly, like I said, it's a performance energy drink. Most energy drinks, the ingredients are kind of like soup. They're in there just because it's what everyone does. There's no tangible impact. We've deliberately stacked ours. Ours, Morsia Energy, has the highest caffeine to milliliter ratio of any energy drink on the planet. You don't get that much. We have 200 milligrams of caffeine, but it's a 330 ml can, right? So that's the first thing. There's other ingredients in there, but I'm not going to bore you going into those, right? But basically, if you drink it, it will improve your performance. We've also got some beta-alanine in there, which basically is like it's pretty funny. It's like an element of pre-workout. So if I have a Red Bull or a Monster, whatever, now I don't get me wrong, I drink, that's why I made it. I drink an energy drink every day before training for about 10 years.
Red Bull is like crack to me at the minute. Every morning.
I drink those drinks. I enjoy drinking them, but I don't get any discernible out. I don't feel better. It doesn't change me. It doesn't make me. It had no impact on me other than just the enjoyment. Right?
I feel like I've never had anything from an energy drink ever.
I should have brought some. What an idiot. Morsia Energy, right? When you drink that, because of numerous reasons, one of them being the beta-alanine, you can get like tingles. Like, do it and you'll see what I mean. You get tingles. It physically has an impact on your being, right? Which, like I said, will improve your performance, enhance. You're at work, you're working whatever, a shift as a doctor. It will improve your performance. The other key thing that bizarrely most drinks seem to overlook is it actually it tastes amazing. Like, I don't know, I've lost track of how many energy drinks I've drunk, especially the smaller canned ones. that taste like shit. Like you drink it.
Some of them are awful, aren't they?
I'm like, are you kidding me? How has this got through a whole chain of people? It tastes like urine. Do you know what I mean? It blows my mind. So that was my first and foremost. I made ours like, we went through hundreds of samples. It's a pretty simple process. This tastes shit. We're not using that. This tastes okay. Let's make it. We just kept going until it tastes amazing. So now we have 3 flavors and they all taste amazing. So that's the 2 criteria. It improves your performance and it tastes amazing.
Does it have electrolytes in as well?
No. So it's not a hydration tool. Oh, that's a lie. There are elements of it that will aid hydration, but that's different. That's like a Lucozade, Gatorade, Powerade, Prime.
Yeah,
that's hydration.
I watched a video recently where they're comparing Prime to Lucozade and all these other different brands. And they're saying, although it has more electrolytes in, it's not actually the electrolytes you sweat out.
Again,
so they have loads of potassium or something.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. People just stack drinks or products with ingredients, and because the average person wouldn't know, right? But actually, that's exactly it. Yeah, the electrolytes are shit. Then they're of no use to you. Yeah, it's like me saying to you, I don't know. You want a really fast car, so yeah, this car will go at 400 miles an hour. But actually, what I mean is, if you push it down a really steep hill, you push it off a cliff, it will do that. Do you know what I mean? It's quite misleading. Technically, it's accurate, but do you know what I mean? You're not getting what you actually.
So
pay
where
for.
can you buy it?
You can buy it on our website, which is monsterenergy.com. You can get it on Amazon, although we went out of stock very quickly, so we're doing a massive restock. Any day now, it's back on Amazon. So you can also get it in WH Smith's. In terms of,
are you pushing for like the supermarkets?
Yeah, I was going to say, you need to get in Tesco.
Yeah. So we've only been out for like 6 months, right? So to get in WH Smith's was pretty wild. We were in WH Smith's before we even existed, that's unheard of, right? Which is pretty amazing. But the goal is to a big main supermarket. So Tesco, like, what
the fuck's going on?
Yeah, do you want to hurry up,
for fuck's sake?
What do you think of Matcha as like an energy supplier? Because we had Perfect Ted on the pod a while ago.
I actually saw that they were on Dragon's Den, right? They've nailed their marketing pitch. They've done amazing. Yeah.
The pitch, I think it was the best pitch I've ever seen in the Den. I think. Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah, it's a great example of they've nailed that, and it's like it's just filling a. Right now, it's such a popular thing in it.
They say there's no drop off in the energy boost you get, or the drop off isn't like a big drop.
Yeah. I mean, it's this. Mate, firstly, that depends enormously on the individual. So you can get 2 people that will have a very different experience of that. But yeah, we're the same. That we've put things in deliberately, so it is sustained energy rather than just some things like a pre-workout, for example. You go on an absolute mad one for an hour, and then you just like feel like shit. Yeah. So that's the goal basically. But no, they've exploited it. They've done it really well. And like I said, that is anything now that's like, labeled as healthy or health food or green. It's just, do you know what I mean? That's the dream, isn't it?
They said the matcha was the golden bullet for them, but the thing was to actually get that dissolved within the liquid. That was the hard bit.
Yeah.
But once they'd sussed that,
no, we had a similar thing with caffeine. Like people don't realize caffeine tastes like shit, right? So that's why a lot of the smaller cans of energy drinks are horrible, because it's hard to make it taste nice, right? So we had to play around with it a lot. But we've done it. It tastes amazing, and it's got a huge amount of caffeine in. But we've gone balls out. Like I said, we've gone for performance, because the vast majority of energy drinks, they taste not. Oh no, that's a lie. A lot of them don't taste nice, but some of them taste nice. But there's actual no impact on your performance and the way you feel. You drinking Monster Energy, you'll be on an absolute mad one. In terms of, like I said, going to the gym, playing football, you're doing a shift at work, whatever it is, writing an essay at uni at school. It will enhance your performance. And like I said, the main thing ultimately is it tastes amazing, right? Like you can have the best drink in the world. If it tastes like shit, no one's going to drink it again.
What's like the R&D costs for like tweaking it? So you try it and it's like, oh, that doesn't taste right. Do it again. In the initial stages, no, obviously it's expensive, but it's not mad. It's obviously harder when you get down the line. So like we're going to do some tweaks like in terms of the can design now, and it's more costly now. I mean, energy drinks as a whole, in fact, any drinks as a whole, it's a tough one because the margins are not big, right? Because they're heavy. Do you know what I mean? Drinks are heavy. So you're trying to ship those around. So you've got to do real volume to make money off it. But like, that's the plan,
And the big players don't want to let you in either, do they?
Yeah, I underestimated how hard it is to
Very
get in.
hard for drinks.
It's wild because you've got the likes of Coke and Sprite and
Massive.
Budweiser, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dominating those places that are making the cans and
let you in.
cans. Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to build the audience first, I would say, rather than lots of people just make products and apps and no one actually signs up.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the advantage that I have. Yeah. But at the same time, like, that's always important to me. That's why I haven't done I've done a few choice select things. I've done them well because that's really important to me. Is that yes, you want to capitalize on an audience, but to have that sustainability, it needs to be an amazing. You don't want to give out shit. I don't want someone ever to associate a shit product or experience with me. Never ever. I want it always to be something amazing, the best you're going to get in that field. You know, that's my goal basically.
Have you ever thought about competing with your sponsors, like maybe bringing out something similar to Gymshark or My Protein?
I've thought so. Yeah, I mean, clothing, fitness clothing, and supplements. They're two obviously huge areas. To be honest, it's a couple of things. Firstly, like I have two kids. Like my life now is I feel like I'm kind of saturated. I don't want to do any more. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with the level of work I'm doing. So when you get into supplements and clothing, especially clothing, I know guys that run clothing companies. It's a lot of work. If you want to do it properly, it's a lot of work. And I don't think especially now, I don't want that. I don't need that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not for me right now. And like I said, those two companies are awesome. They pay me well. They're great companies to work with. So obviously, if I did that, if I went and did my own supplements, I'd have to get rid of them. So not only am I getting rid of them, I'm having to take on all this extra work. You come to a point in life where you're like, you know, you got to balance out. Ultimately, you can make, you know, £10 billion, but if you're spending 23 hours a day working, you don't ever see a family. What's the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? So I'm big on trying to get, you know, a balance. I have time in the day where I can hang out with my two sons and I can go to their football and I can do whatever. I want that. I don't want to lose that because what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just there's a, do you know what I mean? There's the kind of diminishing returns, I think, after a certain point.
So if you were starting out as a creator now all over again,
Yeah.
what would you do differently?
I think elements of what I did, I'm really happy. I think one thing I went after, which is what I knew, fortunately, really early on, is like viral videos, right? I think I say that earlier. That's a lie. I probably spent a good 2, maybe 3 years actually just making shit videos, not really knowing, you know, thinking they were good, but they were in hindsight were terrible. Yeah, uploading, you know, I had videos. I spent like months. It would be like training footage. It would be like bench press day 1, squat day 1, bench press day 2. And
But
it's
it
like,
shows you were doing it for the passion, though.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Which
So
then makes it more authentic and then makes the come up.
Yeah, and also they're all there. A lot of people delete their videos. You go back on my channel, look at my earliest videos. They're so bad. They're so cringeworthy. But I think it's funny seeing that because I remember when I started, I'd watch YouTubers and I'd always go on their earliest videos. And if they were terrible, I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. They used to be shit and now they're like doing really well. I find that inspiring. Do you know what I mean? So I've done it, left in there because I think it's cool to go back and look at those. But yeah, I spent a good, I don't know, I forget, but maybe 2+ years just making those videos that, you know, I mean, they did terribly, but they did okay in the scheme of things, but you're never going to blow up doing that, right? Then it dawned on me, the penny dropped. I learned, however I learned that viral videos is the way to grow, right? So I started doing, like I said, the calorie challenges, and that's how I blew up. So maybe I could just start doing that earlier, but then, you know, I'm big on like, everything I've done has led me to this. Like I said, my Achilles rupture has helped in other ways, right? If I used to do athletics, I hurt my back, I had to stop doing athletics, and then I started doing YouTube. Had I not sustained that back injury, I would have never done YouTube. Do you know what I mean? So many things that seemingly are, you know, horrendous experiences, you end up, you know,
It's joining the dots up when you look back, isn't it?
Yeah, that
Which
whole
we always
butterfly
say.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm big on like, I would never, I wish I'd done this. Like, of course, some things, like, I wish I hadn't, whatever stupid shit I've done. But like, generally speaking, most things, even, you know, unenjoyable experiences have contributed in some way to what I'm doing now. So yeah, like maybe I'd have done viral videos earlier. Maybe I would have, what else would I have done?
Well, I was going to say maybe like you having your family in it as well it's a bit of a USP. I can't really think of other fitness influencers that do it like you.
I think I was, I don't know, one of the first people, to do like, to have a fitness channel that had a heavy family like thing.
Well, who
Definitely
does it? I don't know anyone that does it.
There
Maybe
are a
there is.
few now, but they're more kind of hybrid. You know, it's more like fitness, lifestyle fitness. There's not really many like true fitness channels that do that.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, no, there's not many, to be fair. Like, especially like the kind of father-son dynamic. I was the first one to do that, and now it's, especially on Instagram, that's like massive. That's like a really big kind of trending thing. But like,
That's a bit of a thing here, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing it in the business space.
nice, love that. Yeah.
So, as a married guy, what do you think of the red pill movement? Because we've had lots of guys on the show that's like, yeah, fuck these hoes, you know, these bitches, and treating women in a different way, like in a derogatory manner. What's your opinion on all of that?
If you're asking me what I think about treating women in the derogatory manner, I think it's obviously a bad thing. Like, I think, so like in referencing to like the Andrew Tate vibe, right? What I would say is like, immediately straight away is that, in the same way, that if I watch a film where Brad Pitt plays like a bad guy, I'm aware that isn't actually Brad Pitt. Like, he's playing a role. So I think most of those people in those positions, Andrew Tate as well. Now, I'm sure that is what he's like to an extent, but I'm very confident if you sat and spoke to him by yourself, that isn't some of those beliefs. He exaggerates and he does things deliberately because he's a very clever guy and he's built a persona, right? And that's in the same way that, you know, Jake Paul is. People are provocative in a certain way because it gets them, notoriety and it helps them make money and whatever, all those things. So that's the first thing. And people saying, oh, they shouldn't be doing that. They're spreading all these things. They're influencing people. Like, I think the issue is more the people that are being influenced. If you're someone that is influenced by that to go and do it, that's kind of your issue. That we should be educating people better to be, better comprehension skills, better able to discern what is useful advice and feedback and what isn't, what is real and what isn't. In the same way as that if I go and watch a film about someone driving a bus at 200 miles an hour or whatever, if I go and do that, that's probably a stupid idea, right? That isn't the person in the film's fault. It's my fault for being a moron. So that's the big thing. But of course, I don't agree in a general sense in terms of like treating women like shit. Don't do that.
I think the majority of guys we've had, well, not the majority, but a lot of the guys we've had are like, oh yeah, I have multiple women. And when you get to a certain level of success, you should have multiple women. Obviously, we all disagree with that. But I suppose it's down to the individual and how they want to conduct their life.
Personally, yes, I disagree with it. But again, you can't how can you judge that like it's a case by case basis? If there are things that everyone does that if you analysed it in an objective way or without any context, you'd say, oh, that's really bad. But you have to analyze, you have to know the situation. So, for example, if someone has 3 partners and those partners are happy, they enjoy their existence and they're happy to be part of this structure, how can I say no? You shouldn't be doing that because that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? If it's harming someone or it's whatever causing someone harm, that's different. Don't do that. Do you know what I mean? But if everyone's happy and in the same way that whatever someone's preferences, someone's whatever, the way anyone is, who am I to judge that? Unless they are literally breaking the law or, hurting someone, that's different. But if it's what someone wants to do and it's not impacting anyone in a negative way, then anyone that wants to come and interfere in that, the issue is with that person, not with the person doing that,
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a refreshing view on it from the fitness space because there's so many like, what would you call them, chads?
Yeah, I think as well, it goes back to what I said about like, the playing a role. Like I think people think that's, I think people will think, oh, young guys aspire to do that, so I'm gonna play up to that character and people are gonna like me more. I'm the real like, macho guy that, has loads of girlfriends and sleeps around and does whatever the fuck he wants. Like, and if I do that, then young guys are gonna like idolize me, and maybe that is the case. But that's probably the reason these guys are doing that and saying these and peddling these things, not because they actually deep down want to do it, but it's because, again, going back to the guys making videos about who takes drugs, and I'm sure they don't enjoy making that content. They probably don't sit there and think, oh, I can't wait to make another video. But unfortunately, they've got themselves in a position where that is their narrative and that's their audience. Now they've got to keep doing it, right? Because that's their job. So I think it's a similar thing, probably.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fall into shit. Like the type of content they make, they didn't even 100%, mean to be in that lane.
Yeah, 100%. A guy, so when I first started out again, going back 10 years ago, there was a guy, it's called Two's Training, and we were doing like fitness content at the same time. He now makes Star Wars content. He's got 3.3 million subscribers. He makes Star Wars content. Like, it's fucking wild, right? Sick. But yeah, exactly that. Like, he obviously enjoys making that. Started doing it, did well. Boom, I'm going to start making that content. Yeah. That's the dream, right? If you can make content that you enjoy, you actually want to make, and people like it, and it does well, that's the absolute goal.
So this is a bit of a harder one. Steroids.
Yeah.
Do you use them? What do you think of them?
So I've never used any performance enhancing drug in my entire life. Now, I've had like... So I've been on social media for 10 years, right? And I've obviously, I like to think I have a decent physique, and that comes with the territory. As soon as you're anyone that has an above average physique, the general criteria is like a good amount of muscle mass, low body fat, they've got to be on drugs, right? So I've always had like steroid accusations. And at first, I kind of, people say, oh, see it as a compliment. Oh, great, it's a compliment. Yeah, because people are saying, ultimately, someone's saying, you look so good that you have to be on drugs. So that is a compliment in a physical sense.
I get it all the time.
I was going to say, I did think, I've got my suspicions straight away.
I find it quite upsetting, actually. Yeah. But then, like you say, it's a compliment.
It's just what it is, isn't it? When you're that big, it's just going to happen.
It's wild.
So that I've had that for years, like not fast. I have a very thick skin. I don't get, it takes a lot to wind me up or to get me, to frustrate me. Like if the people that are making accusations about drugs, generally speaking, they're either, 14-year-olds living in their parents' basements, or it's like, whatever, a 40-year-old that hasn't got a very nice life. Ultimately, if you spend your time going on to social media to accuse someone of taking drugs, you probably are not having.
They've always got no profile picture as well.
Yeah. You're probably. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately,
You
I don't
dig
think any
deep
of you
into
guys
the
would
hate
do that,
comments,
right?
don't you?
You're probably not having a very good time yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So
You've got to feel a little bit sorry for
I do.
them, haven't you?
I empathise 100%. Yeah. Or you find it funny because some people are very extreme. So I find that quite funny. Anyway, not fast, not phase. And then like I forget now, like a couple of years ago or so, when obviously as I was growing, there, what escalated is that there's a spate of channels that their content is just making videos of like natty or not. So there's like Greg Doucette's a big one. His content is speculating as to whether someone's on drugs or not, which is kind of personally I think it's a little bit of like a bit of a bottom feeder approach because ultimately you don't know. If you've seen someone take drugs, 100% tell everyone about it because if someone's taking drugs, of course, if you want to take drugs, that's fine as long as you're doing it in a safe way.
But don't tell anyone you're
If
not.
you
If
tell
you are.
people, if you not even not mention it, if you actively say you are not taking drugs and you are, you're a scumbag, and that should be. I think everyone should find out about that. Of course, 100%. Especially if you say, look at my physique, I don't take drugs, buy my training programs, and you're taking drugs again, you're a scumbag. So people should know about that. Anyway, if you want to understand if that's your job and if you've kind of, maybe you've fallen into that content, it performs well and that's your livelihood, fair enough. Do what you want. I don't care. Right? Go for it. One caveat I'd say is at least, put some work, do some research. And because there are some of those videos where, a lot of people do it. That it's like, oh, their criteria again is, oh, he's big, he's lean, he's on drugs.
And make it clear it's an opinion.
Yeah, an opinion, but at least put some, some research or some kind of work behind it. So at least it's an educated assumption, right?
I mean, eventually there'll be repercussions for that, won't there? Someone's going to say something to someone, they'll have enough money to sue them, something silly.
Yeah. Of course, but so anyway, that stuff kind of grew. And what again? If someone says, "Oh, Matt, I think you might be," I don't know. There are ways to go around it. If someone says, "Oh, based on I don't know you much, but based on how you look and your blah blah blah, I think you could be on steroids." If you think that's fine, you're entitled to. I have no problem with that. You're entitled to your opinion, right? What I have a problem with is people would say in videos, "I know he's taken drugs. I know it." Do you know what I mean? Which is A, I haven't, and B, that's you don't know that. So how could you doing that? That's a lie. And if you have a big following, you're obviously the impact of you saying that is pretty significant. So basically, my thought was always, well, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't ever. These people are always going to think that, right? But there's a guy called Derek, channel More Plates, More Dates. He's pretty.
I think I've
pretty
seen that,
massive now. Yeah, he's been on like Joe Rogan and stuff. He is like the guy when it comes to. He's like a friggin' biochemist. He knows his shit, right? So he also has made those videos in the past, but he does it with a much more. He'll make it clear it's his opinion. He'll say, I know this to be true. He'll put actual evidence-based stuff behind it. It isn't just complete speculation. Anyway, he basically, lots of comments, people saying, if you want to prove it, speak to this guy. Spoke to him, and he basically said, you can prove you're not on drugs because. Yeah, I mean, in top level sport, lots of athletes pass drugs tests that are taking drugs. If you have, there's the thing where like if you have a good enough team, you can be ahead of the testing. If you know when you're being tested or you're only being tested at certain times, you can get around it. There are ways to mask it, whatever. He basically came up with a protocol, a drugs testing protocol that it's impossible. You cannot go through this protocol if you're on drugs, right? And I said, let's do it, right?
So why don't they use this protocol for top level
because
sport then?
Expensive. It's expensive and it's lots of work. So the way it worked, I did it in the end for 7 months or so. It needed to be for a long enough period of time because obviously if you're taking drugs, you come off drugs and there'll be maybe a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months where you could no discernible difference, right? Then obviously you start to drop off, you get weaker, you get smaller. So it had to be for long enough that it was apparent that if I stopped taking drugs for 7 months, there's no way you're gonna sustain your physique and your strength, right? So for 7 months, we did a random drug testing protocol. So what happened is, this took over a year to orchestrate. It was an absolute, in hindsight, had I known it was going to be this much of an effort, I would have no chance would have done it because it was a massive ball ache.
Just to shut up the haters.
Yeah, it was expensive as well. So basically, I had to join so WADA. They won't drugs test people privately. You have to be with a federation. So I had to join the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I'm not a bodybuilder. No interest in being a bodybuilder. Anyway, I joined the federation. A drug tester guy would message me and he'd say, I'm coming to test you tomorrow. So I had less than 24 hours notice, which again is important because it means you can't. If someone says, I'm coming to test you, I'm testing you next week, you can do shit to manipulate stuff, right? 24 hours,
It's
less
still
than that.
going to be in your system.
Yeah, you can't. And you can't do, in that time, you haven't got enough time to manipulate anything, right? So they'd come out, depending on where I was, we would do 2 blood tests and 1 urine test. They'd take a shitload of blood, right? I'd have to piss in a pot, basically. The
Do
urine.
they have to watch you piss in the pot?
Yeah, which is pretty awkward. Yeah,
I've heard
Actually
stories of people like having fake dicks.
Yeah. I remember
Maradona was had a fake dick, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he always peed into a pot. And it's
famous,
always in there.
There's a famous story of like a guy that did that. I forget, a gymnast, whatever, athlete of some kind, and it got flagged because it had like, he was pregnant, right? He used his wife's urine, which is like, you think if you're going to those lengths, at least find another male. Do you know what I mean? That's wild.
That's crazy.
But yeah. So anyway, so it was 2 bloods, 1 urine. One of the bloods goes to WADA. The urine goes to WADA, and then the important thing is that this other blood goes to another lab, right? Because again, this is what blows your mind, right? WADA drugs testing, the top level drugs testing, it tests for these certain parameters, but there are things you could do, other things you could take to make your body look like it's all where it should be. Do you know what I mean? You can, for example, if you inject testosterone, you can inject it to a level where it's kind of where it should be normally, right? So if you have low test, you can do TRT, you inject it, and it gets to where it should be. That wouldn't look suspicious on a drug test because that's where your testosterone should be, but you are enhancing your performance, right? The other load of tests I did at the same time with the other lab tests for all these other metrics, which, because if you inject testosterone, your body stops creating it naturally, right? And that shows up in other metrics. So this other lab tested for all of those metrics. So basically it means the combination of all these things being done concurrently, it is impossible. Unless you are a wizard, it's impossible to, do you know what I mean, to be taking drugs. So I did that for 7 months. The other key factor is that I was tracking my lifts, because again, if you stop taking drugs, eventually your performance is going to go down, right? That's the thing with athletes. They do this WADA testing, but no one's really tracking, if someone's passing WADA tests and at the same time their performance is drastically falling off a cliff, you think, hang on a minute, maybe they were taking stuff previously, right? Whereas I was tracking all my lifts, so you could see that my physique, my lifts were all staying the same. In fact, a few of them were going up whilst passing the test. So at that point, after 7 months, the only people that are making accusations now are people that think the world is flat, or people that are just not interested in seeing the actual. They just like to say what they're saying. But
did you document this?
Yeah, the whole thing's documented.
Have you made a video? Because bro, I'm seeing the most fire video in this. Like,
we did. We
start to finish, whole document. There's definitely
I need to do a more concise. So we did I did numerous ones throughout the process. The problem is because I'll be getting Derek will be on as well.
I did drug testing for 7 months, and here's the result.
Yeah,
or something like
honestly,
that.
that would.
Basically done that, but it was quite a long-winded because we had Derek on, and he loves to chat, so he goes into all the the bio, whatever, the stuff that most people are not going to understand, right? So what was cool is that he was on Joe Rogan fairly recently, and they referenced me, and it was a super concise 1-minute segment where basically they were just like, yeah, this guy's natural, and Joe Rogan was like, oh, that's awesome, he's natural, like, fair play. And that was a massive turning point, because what happened up to that point, even though I'd done it, like you said there, a lot of people didn't realize I'd done it because I documented it, but the videos were they were like 40-minute videos, so people weren't sitting there and watching the whole thing.
20-minute video.
Yeah, even less. Like, you could do one of those, commentary, like, infographic type, like 5 minutes, just so everyone. But the joke, so
I can just imagine you in a dark room being interviewed, like a side shot.
Honestly, you could
shots,
make this
just talking through the whole process.
I reckon 17 to 20-minute videos is a bit of a sweet spot at the minute for the algorithm. So,
but yeah, the Joe Rogan thing was mad because that was like massively mainstream. They said it in a super concise way, and it was 2 people that everyone knows and respects. So that since then, like I said, the only people that are making accusations now are people probably a very low IQ, or people that just are gonna say that you could live with me for 10 years and still say that because that's just what they want to say. Do you know what I mean? So I can live with that because my goal was to show the people that are normal, rational members of society that actually had the ability to form an opinion that actually I'm not on drugs. You know, I've done that, so it's pretty fucking satisfying.
That's a crazy story, though. That's mad. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah,
no, I was on the edge of my seat.
No, it's sick because like people up to that point, people thought there's nothing you can do about it. Do you know what I mean? Everyone says, "Oh, it's a compliment. Just accept it." And like I can see that it's a compliment in a physical sense, but the other side of that is that imagine I had been taking drugs the whole time, right? And I've been telling everyone for 10 years that I'm not, right? That'd make me an absolute psychopath. Do you know what I mean?
Fraud.
So it's not a compliment, is it? The people are saying you're an absolute psychopath, so it's not a compliment. And like I said, what I've done is basically created a protocol that's there because there are so many other guys in my position that don't take drugs that people think they do. It's a ball ache, but if they want you now, they have a way they can do that and they can show they're not on drugs. You know what I mean?
I bet a lot of them won't.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Because there are also a lot of guys that are on drugs that don't talk about it. That like I said, they're probably like, shit, why has he done this? Because now it makes it.
So many guys are obsessed nowadays with getting a big chest. So what's the fastest way to go about that? I'm
Asking
talking.
for
I'm
a
asking
friend.
for a friend.
Okay, so
Are we friends?
Well, all right,
That's so nice, Mark.
just for the pod.
I really like that.
He's your adopted son.
That was really nice, Mark.
So there are a few factors here, right? So the first thing is that, which is probably a lot of people are struggling for this reason, is that in order to get a big chest, you're talking about building muscle, right? Building muscle in your chest, right?
Yeah.
For your body
Giving
to
you
do
the
that,
pecs and-
yeah. For your body to do that, it has to have surplus calories. So your body cannot, unless you have never trained in your life. That's the only exception is someone that's never trained before, or someone that's on steroids, right? So those people, they can build muscle in any circumstances. But for everyone else, the normal people, you have to have excess calories to build muscle. If you haven't got enough calories, your body, how can it can't? It's not magic. It's an equation, right? You need more calories here, and your body can then utilize those to build muscle. So that's the first thing. Most people don't.
Can it utilize fat calories to do that, or does
No.
it have to be
I'm
fresh
talking about
input
calories you
of
are
food?
consuming.
So it has to be consumed.
If you've got
food.
fat tissue, that's fat. That's it. It's not that you can get rid of it, but you can't.
It won't turn into muscle.
No. They're two. It's like me saying I'm going to turn this cup into a horse. They're
Okay.
two different structures that can't be done. Right?
Yeah.
You can burn muscle. You can burn fat and build muscle, but they're different structures. They can't. Yeah, that won't happen. But so most guys that are probably wanting to build a bigger chest, perhaps they're also mindful of not wanting to be fat or wanting to lose
Yeah,
fat.
that's why I asked.
They're not eating enough calories, so they can't build muscle. Okay, that's not going to happen. However, what you'll find is when you say building a bigger chest, a lot of the time, if you have excess body fat on your chest, that's going to conceal the muscle. So if you were to lose that body fat, you could even lose, I've seen this numerous times, you could even lose a bit of muscle in the process, but it looks like you've gained muscle because the fat's gone. Do you know what I mean? Same as your abs. You can,
Well, I'm doing a good job of concealing my
very
six-pack.
well concealed. Yeah.
very
I love
concealed.
that. That's good of you. Yeah, if you burn all the fat on your stomach, you haven't built your abs up, but your abs are suddenly more prominent. So that's the
It's more
other
like
thing.
a skinny pack.
It's
Isn't
just
it?
it's just revealing the muscle, right? If you get rid of the fat on your chest, your chest will look bigger because there's less fat covering up the definition and the lines and stuff. So that's another factor. Genetics is a huge factor. Like people don't realize that. 99% of your physique is determined by your genetics. Of course, you have to train hard to realize your genetic potential, but ultimately, I know people that train their nuts off for years and they still don't look very good. And I know other guys who have no idea what the fuck they're doing, but they look amazing because they've got incredible genetics.
So
In the same
true.
way, you look at the NBA. You have someone that's 7'6". He hasn't trained hard to get tall. He's just tall. Do you know what I mean? You get someone that's 4'7". Like if you apply look at the genetic variance in terms of height, you can get someone that's 4 foot tall and someone that's like almost 8 foot tall. Think about that range, right? And then apply that to the ability to build muscle and look amazing. Think about the range in humans. Do you know what I mean? It's incomprehensible. So, like you go back to the drug thing, people can't comprehend if they look shit. That's the limit of their understanding. So anyone that looks better than that, they've got to be on drugs because this is as good as you can look. Do you know what I mean? Like that's another big factor of genetics. So basically, going back to your chest, some people genetically that's a weak spot. Maybe the muscle inserts in a way that it's never going to look great, or you cut your abs, for example, are a good example. Some people have like an 8-pack, some people have a 4-pack. The way your abs are divided, where the tendon and where the muscle belly is, you can't change the position of that. Unless you have surgery to move it, your abs are where they are. So you can make them slightly bigger and you can reveal them more, but you can't change the actual appearance of them in the sense of if you've got 3 on one side and 2 on the other, that's always how it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? So the same goes for your chest.
How much does testosterone play a part?
Yeah, and
in
I
that?
just want to say, so Billy, genetics are important. Right,
Genetics are everything.
Is that someone that's saying they're not important?
He's
Right.
got the biggest legs and he's just well bulky right now and he's got amazing genetics, and I keep telling him and he just denies it. He says I'm taking away his hard work and all of this stuff, and I agree, he's putting crazy work in, but his genetics are on another level as well.
So of course, if you have amazing genetics but you do nothing, you're not going to look amazing. But the difference is if you both work hard, the genetic person is going to make a massive amount more progress because they have the underlying ability to do it. Testosterone. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's like the number one hormone to build muscle, right? However, it's not as significant as people think, and I'm a good example of that. So one of the mad things that came about through this testing is I was getting everything tested, all the metrics in the world, right? My testosterone, so if you're looking at a scale of testosterone, right, you've got like the worst in the world, the best in the world, then you've got this kind of average range here. Mine was average, but the lower end of the average range of the spectrum, which is, I assumed it will be at least decent, right? And it's not, but what you find with testosterone is that the variation from like low average to high average doesn't make a difference. When you go to like actual low to actual high, that makes a massive difference. But if you're kind of, as most people are, you fall in between the average range.
Anywhere in that
that
band.
doesn't really make a difference. Nah. And there's also other factors, like there are other hormones, other things. So you can have loads of tests, but if your body can't utilize it, it's no good to you. And other people I think which is where I fall in, not mega high test, but my body utilizes it really well. So that those things have an impact as well.
So have you ever taken extra testosterone?
No, because that's performance. I've never taken any.
That's still
performance
performance enhancing.
Yeah, because if you take tests, if I was to inject testosterone now, I'd get bigger, I'd get stronger, like almost immediately. Yeah.
So what would happen if I started doing it, just out of genuine curiosity? I would imagine if I did that there, like how funny it would be.
What you said earlier, I thought was a bit worrying. Like if you inject this testosterone, it would stop you naturally.
This is what
creating-
people.
That's horrible.
But how about if Dad did it? He naturally's already stopped creating as much.
Yeah, what would
It
you
might-
recommend?
Wait, sorry,
to-
I'm
A
in my prime.
70-year-old with low test, what would you recommend?
Yeah. So in terms of that, now that's what I mean. So the main reasons I've never done it, to be honest, like I can't really be arsed, and it's not my. It sounds counterintuitive. My livelihood isn't really dependent on my physique. I could look significantly shitter and I could still continue to do well, right? I don't compete again, so there's not enough of a benefit for me doing it. I've got 2 kids, I've got a family. It's not for me, right? The other big factor is if you start most drugs that are going to have a good impact on you, right? You can do them and you will probably look better and be stronger and perform better and feel great, etc. But where do you go from there? Like if you start taking, I know people that are on a lot of drugs, right? You start taking drugs, right? You do it for a year, 2 years, whatever. At some point, presumably you're going to stop, right? When you stop, everything goes, and you're probably going to revert, probably worse off than you were initially, except for you've experienced how amazing that felt. You just, everything is going to be shit. So if you start doing that, unless you're committing to doing it for life, at some point it's going to go back to being shit and worse.
So but let's just say I started doing it now, yeah?
Yeah.
So week 1, month 1, month 3, and a year.
Mate,
Like,
so straight away, I know
Would he walk in bigger than me?
I'm more knowledgeable now because I've done this whole testing thing. I still, I'm not the guy to. I don't know that much about it, to be honest.
You
But
know more than I do, though.
So in terms of like testosterone, I mean, you get different responders. Some people respond a lot more than other people. So some people could take loads of stuff and not make a huge difference. Some guys take a little bit and they look amazing. Like it varies, but you would build more muscle, and you'd have the capacity to build more. So the impact it would have would depend on how much work you're willing to do. If you killed yourself in the gym, you'd probably put on a lot of size. But again, there's elements. Ironically, a lot of the things that people want physically, drugs wouldn't help. Like people say, going back to the abs, the perfectly symmetrical 6-pack. Drugs will not give that to you. If you either born with it or you're not. If you're not born with it, you can take all the drugs in the world. That's never going to come. Do you know what I mean? Biceps. If your bicep starts here, your bicep can get bigger. It's not going to magically crawl down your tendon. That's just where it is. Do you know what I mean? So you can't change your physical makeup short of getting plastic surgery. Do you know what I mean? In the same way that I can't grow a foot taller. That's never going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So if you are so desperate to look a certain way that you're going to take all these drugs, I would kind of imagine that probably isn't going to solve that underlying issue. It's probably something a bit more, deeper rooted that you're better off, trying to address before you just start taking drugs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it sounds dangerous. It's not the sort of thing
I don't know. It's better now. You can do it in a safe way. You can get guidance, blah, 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 blah. But the general, again, it's a big blanket term, but steroids, for example, for me, it just seems like a bit seedy and a bit, do you know what I mean? I don't like the idea of that.
It's a bit like plastic surgery, isn't it? Once you start, or once the ladies seem to start, they're always picking out another imperfection.
Like tattoos, right? If you have the urge to get a tattoo, you get one, you're probably the urge will come back, you want to get more. There's a never ending cycle, do you know what I mean?
We recently had Joe Fazer on the podcast and he said the moment you enter the gym is the moment you're never going to be satisfied. Do you agree with that?
100%, yeah. It's this kind of crazy like paradox. It's like, I think I'm pretty good in terms of I'm very confident. I don't really things don't fade. Like if someone has an opinion of me, I don't unless it's like someone that I really know and respect. I don't really care. Like I don't get upset if someone insults me, for example. Not interested, right? But still, 100% you have insecurities, and it's mad how you can see like a 17 stone fat guy on holiday in his Speedos, doesn't give a shit, loving life, super confident, struts around on the beach, right? And you see someone else that's in amazing shape, and they're like, in their head, they're like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. Oh my God, I look a bit fat. Like as soon as you start, and it goes with any other, beauty or whatever, as soon as you start training, and say the gym, it depends, because if you're going to the gym because you're a weightlifter or you're a sprinter and you're doing it at performance, that's different. If you're going to the gym to improve your physique alone, then by its very nature, to check progress, you're looking at yourself, right? So you're constantly looking at
So
yourself.
you're becoming obsessive, aren't you?
Yeah, and then as soon as you do that, it's just a one-way ticket to body dysmorphia, all those kinds of issues.
So if you were
100%.
going down onto the beach, would you have to have a pump first before you
No,
went, or you're not that self-conscious?
No, I don't really give a shit. Like I'm pretty confident, I'm pretty happy to go. But that is, like you said there. I've met a lot of people and filmed a lot of videos with a lot of fitness people, and it's mad how many people. Yeah,
Joe said that, didn't he? He said he wouldn't go anywhere with his shirt off without having a pump first.
Yeah, that's super common. Most fitness guys.
When I was swim training back in the day, they would say like I couldn't do. I'd see you looking at me. Yeah, I'll mention it again, but they said I couldn't do weight training because it would stunt my growth. How true is that? Because I didn't do it for years because of that.
Yeah. So in most aspects, that's absolute bullshit. It's just complete. That's like classic, like wives' tale, bro science. Like, yeah.
Do you think they're saying that because they didn't want me to like be heavy in the water?
No. It's because that's what people think.
Believed it.
Yeah, in the same way that if you're a Capricorn, you like oranges, whatever. Do you know what I mean? That kind of shit. That's literally has the same.
Signs,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It probably would have been one
You're not
terrible.
dissing the star signs.
Star signs are amazing. I love them. They're great. Really good. I think it stemmed from there's a study so long ago, like some terrible shit study that was had some correlation between that and whatever stunted growth. It's just an assumption that's completely false. Obviously, if you take a 6-year-old and get him doing like heavy deadlifts and squats, there probably will be repercussions 100%. Yeah, because at that age you're obviously growing, like there are elements of your skeleton that hasn't even fused together yet. They're not ready to be loaded in that way. However, in a controlled environment when it's not mega heavy with good form, body weight stuff, the opposite. It will encourage growth. You're literally going to grow more. Do you know what I mean? So it's actually the opposite. Wow. It's just obviously you've got to temper it with, like, if you go to the extreme, you look at like Russian weightlifters, Olympic weightlifters, they get picked from the age of like 2-3 years old. They're doing clean and jerk and snatch when they're 4 years old. So for most of them, it's either, or all of them, it's either you make it and you're like an Olympic gold medalist, or you don't and you become like some deformed person living in a basement that can't move anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because they've done 4 hours a day of weightlifting since the age of 4. So that's an extreme end of the spectrum. But if you apply it in a sensible, way with moderation, then resistance training and like body weight stuff is actually helpful, and it promotes growth and it promotes bone density and joint health and like building muscle and feeling all that kind of good stuff.
I mean, I've seen some videos of some people lifting some extreme weights, and obviously the old muscles are really under strain and that. Do you ever worry like they're just going to detach?
I've seen it. I've seen people. I've seen someone, their pec, which like your chest, your pec muscle attaches here. I've seen it literally just pop off. I've done it. I ruptured my Achilles. So my Achilles, which is like the biggest tendon in your body, mine ripped in half playing football. So I've seen it numerous times. What you've got to remember is that weightlifting, especially again, I'm doing this like as long as you know what you're doing. If you're doing weightlifting, you know what you're doing. Very, very low risk, because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's all linear. It's all in one plane. It's all, do you know what I mean? It's consistent. Like your body, the reason you get injured is because it's like an unpredictable, unforeseen event. Playing rugby, someone absolutely pummels through you. You can't really prepare for that, right? That's how you get injured. You fall off a step, you crash your car, those things. Weightlifting, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So actually, your body thrives on that. The chance of you getting injured is so minimal unless you do something stupid or you're doing it wrong, basically.
So if you can lift the weight, the chances are your muscle is attached well enough that it ain't going to come off if you're physically able to lift it.
If you suddenly, if your bench press is 100 kilograms and you throw 200 on the bar, you might tear your pec because that's like a stupid thing to do. If you're doing it in a sensible way and you're progressively overloading, you're adding little amounts, each week, and you're slowly building up and you're having adequate rest and all that kind of good stuff, the chance of you getting injured is very, very slim.
You seem to love a 10,000 calorie challenge. Is that now like easy, or is it still a challenge?
Those days are gone. Back in the day, that's, do you know what? Yeah, those videos, they were my first viral videos. That's what propelled me to, not to here, but like some of the way. They were the first videos I ever made that got me, any kind of.
If you go most popular on your channel, it's like eating, something else, eating.
Yeah.
People like eating.
Yeah.
It's got a wider appeal.
Like classic YouTube formula. Like I did a 10K challenge. It did well. I'll do a 15K. I'll do a 12. I just kept going. Do you know what I mean? Because every single one went viral, helped me grow, like relatively speaking. So yeah, but no, those days, like. So I still make videos now, like maybe every other video will be about, the title will be food related, but they're rather than being like, eating a stupid amount of food, it's more just like
What I eat.
my bulking diet or eating this person's diet or this kind of little challenge, but they're not real. I haven't properly like killed myself eating food for a long time.
So what would your tips be to be able to up your calorie intake? I'm asking again for a friend.
Well, Kai struggles to eat 3,000 calories. So any way that he can hit that easily
I've
every
been
day.
getting into the gym lately. I
Nice.
injured my shoulder skiing, the subluxation or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't do anything right now. So I'm sort of out the game, but I'm trying to get into it.
Yeah.
But for me, I really like going to the gym, doing the exercises, upping my weights, which I won't say what they are because obviously they're still very small weights.
It's all relative, though.
but-
Have you actually put weights on the bar yet?
Yes.
Oh, well, I
a
didn't
couple,
know. Well
but
done.
not a lot.
Mate, I can remember going to the gym for the first time and like doing bench press with the bar and being.
Oh yeah,
like,
I've
do
been
you know what I
doing
mean?
that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't.
So it's
shaking,
all
but I
it's all
have done
relative.
bar
It's
only.
relative. But,
But
if you
anyway, the
continue
food.
doing that for a year, then you're going to be.
But I just
And what a lot of
struggle
people
with the
wouldn't
food.
realise is obviously the bar is what
20 kilograms,
kilos.
mate. It's heavy.
20.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you've
yeah.
already got some weight there anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
But yes, it's just food for me mainly is the issue. If I could get in a big calorie surplus, then I think I'd be all right. But I think obviously I'm probably genetically ungifted like Joe Fazer when it comes to gaining muscle.
So so that's a misconception in the sense that, yes, like building. Some people find it easy to build muscle, but in terms of creating a calorie surplus, that's just like maths. That's just literally everyone has a metabolism. So you might burn on average 2,000 calories a day, right? To create a calorie surplus, you've got to eat more than that, like 2,500. That isn't, people say, oh, I eat so much, but I'm not gaining weight. Eat more. Like that's literally that simple. And conversely, someone says, oh, I've been.
Kai struggles with
hard.
feeling hungry. I said you don't necessarily have to feel hungry, just eat it. But
Yeah.
you
But
can't
you know
eat
what?
it.
Because I've been there, right? My metabolism is very, very high. So going back to when I was a powerlifter and I got up to like 105 kilogram body weight, right? Which is not, for me, that was a lot, right? So my metabolism, I was having to eat 6,000 calories a day to gain weight. And even then was gaining weight very slowly by the end. I had to resort to things like pouring olive oil in my protein shakes.
Yeah,
and
Myron from Fresh
weird
and Fit
shit like
told
that.
me to
Yeah.
do that.
Don't do that because it's probably not healthy. But the best thing to do is, if you're starting, is liquid calories.
Yeah.
Like two things. Firstly, liquid calories. So you could sit down and eat 1,500 calories of, chicken and potatoes and shit, and you're going to feel so full. You could make a 1,500 calorie milkshake, like Five Guys milkshake, and drink it in 2 minutes and enjoy it. It's
And
the same. Do you know what I mean?
Lovely, yeah.
It's the same thing. So the other factor that's one thing that will change. It's a game changer. Liquid calories, right? Just do that. Find shit you like, blend it, and drink it.
Haagen-Dazs cookie and cream ice cream.
Done. There you
Oreos.
go. There you go. Second thing is, don't be afraid to eat shit. I think people have been, again, this is from the diet industry trying to sell you shit. You don't have to eat cabbage and chicken breast and weird shit, green tea and stuff. It doesn't make a difference in terms of body composition, right? You want to have a high protein diet. That does make a difference. And of course, in terms of your general health and the way you feel and your skin and all that shit, you want to eat healthy,
I
whole
think I'm
foods.
on 180 grams a day. of
Solid. How much do you weigh?
protein,
How much do you weigh?
About 64 kilos probably.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, nice. Yeah. I mean, within reason, the more the better.
I'm not
basically.
always hitting it, but that's what I'm.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you're on a bulk, which you are, actually, I wouldn't worry about bulk protein because you're getting so many calories. You're going to get protein anyway. People don't realize with protein, you eat a large pizza, you got about 80 grams of protein.
What I've been
there,
trying to
good.
do is I've been waking up having a whey gainer, my protein, like
Straight away, I would say don't buy gainer protein shakes because
Why?
a mass gainer, all it is a protein shake. They've removed some of the protein and chucked loads of carbs and fat and shit.
The only
in.
thing is like a lot of them, I drink them, whatever it is, and it literally just makes me feel violently sick.
Yeah,
'cause
they
they're
taste
so
like shit.
disgusting.
Yeah, but yeah,
These like
okay,
raspberry
okay.
lemonade little like squash things from.
Clear
my-
Way.
Yeah,
I
Clear
know
Way
what you mean.
game.
Yeah,
but
okay,
it's
so-
a bit foamy in that, but it's well nice. Like I can take it to bed.
Yeah. But I still.
There's something about that looks really unhealthy to me.
Oh, for
How
sure.
many-
How do they make it like
How
that?
many calories are in like one of those shakes you
About
have? do you know?
550.
Yeah, I would just say that's fine, and it's good that you can. That's the key as well. Finding things you can eat that don't make you feel sick. That's the key one with bulk, right? But like you can make a literal 1,000 calorie shake. You could get a shake, put 2 scoops of protein in, some peanut butter, some Nutella, banana, oats, find shit you like and put it in there, blend it. You can get 1,000 calories, and you can down it in a minute. and you're good to go.
The issue is if you took a normal protein, like just some sort of normal protein powder, and I put it in that milkshake you just described, even though that sounds so nice, just putting that protein in there, I would not be able to drink it because it's disgusting.
I think you've had a bad one.
It's all mental.
Mass gainers, yes, you're right. I hate them. They're horrible. Regular protein, you get a nice protein. No, I think you've got
maybe
bad
I'll try that because
I'll hook you up. You can get some nice protein that you can get unflavored. It makes you won't even notice it in that shake.
Yeah, at the minute I've just been having the protein shake in the morning, trying to smash a Domino's or a Mackey's or something like that, then eating like a normal dinner, and then having some sort of like milkshake before I go to bed.
So just quickly, a disclaimer as well, right? If you're eating that shit, that's fine because I do that as well, right? But just obviously be mindful. You want to eat fruit and vegetables. Don't just eat shit, right? If you want to eat like Domino's every so often, that's fine. It's not going to make a difference. Like in terms of calories, it's better than nothing. So do it, but make sure you're eating vegetables and fruit. Do you know what I mean?
I am addicted to eating shit. My whole life I've
that's
and the cleaner I eat, the worse my skin gets.
So to an extent, that's fine as long as. So again, I eat shit. Every day I eat shit. Right. However, not literal shit. I eat shit. However, I will also
not that need to clarify.
just in case. However, I will also deliberately eat a lot of fruit and a lot of vegetables, right? So you make sure, because obviously if you're just eating that shit, where are you getting your micronutrients from? You're not getting any, right? So make sure that's because you want to die. So make sure you're doing that as well. But yeah, like I said, that's a massive misconception. People have been led to believe they have to eat super clean or dig up their food from their garden to it. That's absolute bullshit. In terms of health, yes, there are benefits. In terms of your body composition, so how much muscle you have and how much fat you have, if you eat 2,000 calories, right, and you get 1,000 calories of it from McDonald's versus 1,000 calories of it from potatoes and chicken and whatever, if the macronutrients, if the carbs, fat and protein is the same, it doesn't make a difference where you get it from. If I get 50 grams of carbs from McDonald's fries and I get 50 grams of carbs from some potatoes that I dig up and eat in my hand, it makes no difference to my body composition. That's a fact, right? So
how about with like your gut health?
That's different. So
this
again,
is what he worries about.
Health, like disease, etc. Different. However, still a lot of it is again speculation because there have been studies. There's a guy that did a study, American dietitian, nutritionist guy. He did a study where all he ate for, I forget now, like 90 days or whatever it was just shit. He ate like Twinkies and like processed, chocolate bars, American, absolute shit. Nothing else. I think he was having one supplement a day, one, greens, whatever, to get, to keep something in there. Yeah. But that's it. All his food was just absolute processed shit. Nothing else. No fruit, no veg, nothing else, right? At the end of 90 days, he'd lost a significant amount of fat. All his bad cholesterol had dropped. His good cholesterol had gone up. Literally, every single health marker was drastically improved because he lost weight. Ultimately, the biggest factor is fat. People say, McDonald's is bad. If you are a healthy weight and you have a good amount of muscle and you exercise and you eat fruit and veg, McDonald's is fine. If you're 25 stone, morbidly obese, you don't get out of your chair, then McDonald's is not fine because that's where the risk factor comes in. Do you know what I mean? So you can't just take things and categorize them and say this is good and this is bad without any context. You know what I mean?
Because there's this whole move towards whole foods, isn't it? And less processed is
which
better.
Again, elements of that, of course, makes sense. Of course, logically, you're going to feel better on those things. However, it's not as simple as, that's better because apples are good, right? But if I eat 5,000 apples a day, I'm going to die. Do you know what I mean? So they're not good in that sense, right? Pizza, people say pizza's bad. You could eat a pizza every day for your life and be perfectly healthy and live to 120. Like, it's not as simple. Without context, you cannot say anything is bad and anything is good. All that matters is moderation and the bigger picture.
I think it's time for your famous question, Dad.
When is enough? Enough.
Oh man, that's a broad question. Enough is enough when you are. I don't know, what's the context? Can you give me any more context to that question?
Any way you want to take it.
Anyway, yeah.
Enough is enough when you are happy with that. So the amount of whatever thing that you're referencing here with enough. When you have that thing to an extent that you are happy, that's when it's enough. That's when you should stop.
But isn't it like the gym though, where you're never satisfied? How do you hit that
but you
level?
have to stop yourself from getting into that position. And the way you do that is by, like, at some point you taper your pursuit of something. So what I've learned is that, and this is such a cliche, but like when you're trying to achieve an outcome desperately, particularly for a long period of time, and it's a really big potential outcome, when you get to that outcome, it's never as fulfilling as you expect it to be. And then you're invariably left with like a big chasm of like, what am I doing now? If you feel a bit bummed out, do you know what I mean? So the key is to, rather than just count days till you get to this end point. Just actually try and like maximize the things you're doing on a daily basis. Try and it kills me. It's so cheesy saying it, but like, actually live in the moment and actually be aware and enjoy the things you're doing on a daily basis, so that when you get to the end point, if it doesn't work out, then it's fine because you've still had a good time getting there. But if people that like, I'm gonna work ridiculously hard for 20 years, then I'm gonna retire, and then they kill themselves doing a horrible job for 20 years, and then they retire and they die 2 years later, and they've wasted their life doing that shit, having a horrible time. So try and enjoy the pursuit of that outcome.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, because otherwise, the journey is 99% of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy the journey, you're just committing to having a horrible time.
I've won all sorts of championships for different things, and that, what's next? What's next?
Humble flex.
Well,
Is that a humble flex?
Various things.
But that is what
I've
happens,
won all
isn't
manner
it?
of things.
Yeah,
You see it all the time with sports people, right? They retire and then they're just depressed. Or
What do
they
do?
win a thing and it's
like Olympic
meaningless.
gold medal syndrome or whatever it's called.
So that's it's don't put all
What's
your eggs
next?
in one basket. That's the main thing. Don't just put all of your being on this one thing, because you are
It's an
slippery slope.
anticlimax.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, you've wasted all of that time in the process of getting there, having a suboptimal time.
Thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
been
Thanks
great.
for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's awesome. I've had a good time.
If you guys have enjoyed it, make sure to smash that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm, and we will see you next Wednesday with a brand new podcast. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from these guys. See you later. Bye. Very
I love
good.
how the fitness episodes just turn into like advice for me.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like a consultation session, wasn't it?